everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be counting down the top 10 4K Blu Rays of 2023. So narrowing it down to just 10 was actually really difficult because 2023 was a fantastic year for the 4K format. We had such classic films as The Exorcist and its sequel, The Exorcist 3, come to 4K. Point Break, which is speaking right to my heart, came to 4K Blu-ray this year. The Warriors had a fantastic upgrade this year. The Fugitive came to 4K. We also had some great 2023 films come to the 4K format like Barbie and Evil Dead Rise, which is easily the best audio track of 2023. We had some great Steelbook releases like Cool Hand Luke and Point Break. We had some great box set releases like the Hellraiser Quad Trilogy. I'm still not too sure what they're calling that. The Quartet of Horror or something like that. The Psycho 4K box set. Arrow Video gave us the Child's Play 4K box set, as well as Scream Factory finishing out the 4Ks. The other half of the Child's Play 4Ks, starting with Bride of Chucky, the rest of those came out this year. So we had a great year for the 4K format. But what were the top 10 of 2023? Well, I'm going to try and tackle that right now. But just remember, guys, this is completely subjective. This is just my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's absolutely fine. I would actually like to hear what your top 10 lists are. So leave your top 10 4K Blu-rays of 2023 list down in the comments section below. But without further ado, let's start this off with number 10. And this is kind of a cheat, but I have to include the Psycho 4K Blu-ray box set that came out from Arrow Video. Now, this was a Region B release, so here in the United States, if you wanted it, you had to get it imported. I did that through Diabolic DVD, and thank God I did, because this is just one of the best releases of the year. When I first saw this, I was very skeptical, mainly because of this slip sleeve that looks like a shower curtain. I thought it looked very ugly in pictures, but in person, it's really not that bad. But underneath that, you get the nice Arrow Video hard box that we love to see. You get all 4 4Ks of the Psycho movies, 1 through 4. Now, the first one is not actually done by Arrow Video. That was actually done by Universal years ago when they did the Alfred Hitchcock Collection Volume 1. But 2 through 4 was done by Arrow Video, and they just did a fantastic job on all of those transfers. Made me really appreciate the sequels to Psycho. I always just kind of blew them off. I'd only seen them one time before this, but then when I finally got to look at them in brand new crisp 4K, it really, really worked for me this time around. And even though Psycho 4 was a direct-to-video movie, that is one of the best 4Ks of the year, and it's packed into this Psycho box set, so definitely check that one out. Great audio, great extras. Really, if you're a Psycho fan, you owe it to yourself to get this Psycho 4K box set, and they're actually going to be re-releasing this in February. Just 2, 3, and 4 though, and it's more of a stripped-down version, so you won't be getting it in this beautiful packaging. And at number 9 is our first 2023 releases. So these were released in theaters this year. The first one up is John Wick Chapter 4. John Wick has always been a franchise that has lent itself great to the 4K format. Really, the first 2 John Wick movies sold me on what 4K could be. The Dolby Atmos tracks on those were fantastic. The visuals were fantastic. When Chapter 3 Parabellum came out on 4K, had to have that as well. Even though I think that's the worst in the entire franchise, I still think it's a great film and it's a great 4K. But John Wick Chapter 4, again, continues the trend of great 4K Blu-rays from the John Wick franchise, released by Lionsgate. This one is just, it's going to really show off your system to all your buddies. It's got great visuals, HDR10 and Dolby Vision. It's got an amazing Dolby Atmos track, exactly what you expected from it. It's one of the best Atmos tracks of the year, but actually I still think the best Dolby Atmos track to be released in 2023, and actually it's the best track overall of 2023, came out from Evil Dead Rise. But John Wick Chapter 4 was right on its tail, and it was expected. That's the thing, I had my expectations really, really high for the Atmos track on this, and it met all of those. Also, they gave us some great featurettes on the 4K Blu-ray. You get a pack-in Blu-ray here. They had a bunch of different releases with a bunch of different packaging, so whatever route you wanted to go. I just went standard on this with the regular old-fashioned slipcover, but overall, still a great, great, great release, and I feel like the John Wick movies, if you're a collector of 4K Blu-rays, you have to have those in your collection just to show off what your system can really do.
The ice is gonna break!
And at number 8, I got David Cronenberg's The Dead Zone. This one kind of flew under the radar, came out this month in December as well. And Scream Factory and Shout Factory were just releasing great 4K, great 4K, great 4K, one after another. And The Dead Zone came out, and a lot of people didn't seem to notice, but it is one of the biggest upgrades visually that I have seen in 2023. The Dead Zone never looked more beautiful than it does in this 4K. I mean, the HDR was just doing so much work, and the colors just look so much more fuller now. Like, you'll notice little things in the background. That's what stuck out to me, was looking in the background. The doctor is sitting in front of a bookshelf, and you're just noticing all the colors colors of the book. That would have never popped out at you if it wasn't for the amazing HDR on this, really just making the colors look more real, more dynamic. The skin looks so naturally, like you see every little blemish on Martin Sheen's face. And also, it's a great film. You know, you get Christopher Walken in here doing a really, really good job. This is really before he kind of becomes a character of himself. He's still like a really world-class actor here. He gives one of his best career performances in this. You feel bad for the guy. You know, this thing that could easily be a blessing really turns out to be a curse for him. But he tries to still do some good with it. But it's a very, very tragic story. And one that still rings very true today, actually, in today's modern society of politics. So really, this movie, definitely worth checking out. And if you can get this 4K Blu-ray, it is one of the best of the year. And at number 7, we get Kino Lorber's first release on the list, and that is The Night of the Hunter. This 1950s horror movie is one of the best of all time. And to see it come to the 4K format, now this had actually had a previously Criterion release, and I still think that might have the better extras overall, but as far as coming to 4K, I mean, this might be my favorite black and white 4K of all time. And that's really because of the amazing cinematography when they shot this movie. You know, they were going for that German expressionism look, and it really did come through perfectly in this film. This movie feels like a fantasy horror movie with a monster right at the center of it, played by Robert Mitchum. The movie itself is fantastic. If you're one of those people who doesn't think that movies from the 1950s hold up, this is one of those movies that holds up amazingly. If this would have came out in 2023, other than the fact that they're trying to cover up for the fact that this guy is a monstrous serial killer, they're kind of leaving that in the subtext. He never outright comes out and says it, and that was mainly because of the code back then. They couldn't really do things like that. But for a movie like this, from that time, it is so dark, and it is still so beautiful. And you get some of the best child actor performances in this movie. Most child actors never give performances like this, and the two in this movie are asked to do a lot of the lead acting in the movie, other than Robert Mitchum, and they do a fantastic job as well. And The Night of the Hunter is one of those horror movies that you have to absolutely see. Don't get turned off by the black and white, because if you want to see gorgeous and beautiful black and white, this Kino Lorber 4K is for you.
I'll never let go.
Titanic.
And at number 6, we get Titanic, a James Cameron 4K Blu-ray. This one was released by Paramount in December. After we got the new scan in theaters in February to celebrate its 25th anniversary, we knew the movie was going to be coming to 4K Blu-ray, and in December it did. And Paramount released this with all of the old extras that were released on the previous Blu-ray. It even has the same menu system in this, but they added on a brand new documentary, and then, of course, the coup de grace is that brand new 4K scan. And for people who are worried about the DNR and what James Cameron did with T2, don't worry about that. This is one of the best transfers of the year. The Dolby Vision and HDR10 do amazing work. Also, the Dolby Atmos track that is included on this is fantastic. It's easily in the top 5 of the year as far as audio tracks goes, but the visuals are what really stand out to this movie. This movie actually did look pretty damn good on Blu-ray, but they found a way to enhance it so much more. The brightness is what you'll notice right away, and I felt like that was kind of one little flaw in the movie, is certain scenes would look a little bit too blown out because of the brightness, and I guess the HDR was just doing a little too much work at those points, and they didn't edit it down. But overall, for a movie like this, it really blew me away for the most part watching this movie. And again, to give us some great extras. There was also a great collector's edition out there if you were able to get that. I know a lot of people were happy with that, because a lot of people do love Titanic. It is one of the top 5 highest grossing films of all time. It was the highest grossing film for a very long time, until James Cameron knocked himself off the throne with Avatar. And you know, a movie like that deserves to have one of the better 4K releases, and thankfully it does. I know a lot of people were worried, and there's all those rumors about True Lies and what that looks like. We'll have to wait till March to see that on actual 4K Blu-ray. I won't be checking out those digital scans, but we were worried about what James Cameron was going to do with Titanic, and our fears were not met, thankfully, because this is one of the best 4Ks of the year.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll. Everybody freeze! Everybody move!
And at number 5, maybe this is a little too high because it's personal to me, but Point Break is one of my favorite films of all time, and they gave us an incredible Steelbook. Steelbook of the year right here. I mean, Point Break, like I said, Catherine Bigelow's 1991 hit came out 1 week after Terminator 2, so you had James Cameron and his wife at 1-2 at the box office, and Point Break is easily one of the best 90s action movies. It's one of the best action movies of all time. It's so good that the Fast and Furious ripped it off, and the old Blu-ray was really not good for this one. It was really really getting old. It looked bad. It just aged terribly. It aged like someone who got way too much Botox. It just looked absolutely awful. So we got a brand new Shouts Factory 4K Blu-ray, again with this amazing steelbook that they gave us. And the upgrade to the visuals is what just stands out to me. It was beautiful. The movie never ever looked this good. The HDR does great work. And, you know, for a movie like this that has this like hazy look to it, you know, I was very worried that they were going to remove that. They kind of did something like that with True Romance, but no, thankfully they did not do that. It kept that hazy look while upgrading all the colors and the brightness and just making it look more natural now, like making it look more realistic. You know, we also get all the old extras that we had. The only thing that was very disappointing is the fact that we didn't get a brand new audio track. It is just a DTS HD 5.1. A movie like this did deserve a Dolby Atmos track, but it's such a big jump from that previously released Blu-ray, and because it's a favorite film of mine, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but this is one of the top 5 4Ks of 2023.
Can you dig it?
And at number 4, another December release, and that is for The Warriors, Walter Hill's classic from 1979. This had actually 2 packaging designs. This is the Arrow Store exclusive. There was also a regular edition. Both of them came in the really nice Arrow Video hard packaging with the slip sleeve on it. They gave us everything you could have wanted on here. They gave us the original cut on 4K Blu-ray while also giving us the 2005 director's cut on 4K Blu-ray. A lot of studios don't do that. Most studios will just give us one of the cuts on 4K while giving us the other cut on Blu-ray. The week before this came out, JFK came out, and the director's cut was on 4K, but the Blu-ray was the theatrical cut. But you know what? The Warriors didn't do that. They gave us them both on 4K. They gave us so many different extras. I mean, they left no stone unturned with this one. Everything you could have wanted, and then the packaging. The packaging is what stands out. A movie like this that is beloved by so many people, it deserved to be in the best collector's edition packaging out there, and then of course the visuals. What a huge visual upgrade. Only some minor flaws that are contributed to the source material. It has nothing to do with how the transfer was. This transfer looks incredible. The audio is incredible. This movie is just a fantastic film, and it deserved a great 4K, and thankfully Arrow Video delivered on that. They hit a grand slam with this one, easily one of the best of 2023.
Over my heels, falling on my head, but all of my fears were already dead. And if I could,
and at number 3, with probably the best visuals overall for the year, and that is Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. Not only is this one of the best movies of the year, but it also gave us some of the best visuals, best animation that I've ever seen. Actually, scratch that, it is the best animation that I have ever seen in my entire life. And Into the Spider-Verse was a fantastic film, one of my favorite films of that year. It won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, and it deserved it. So you know what? Expectations were high for Across the Spider-Verse. We also knew this was a part 1, so it was going to feel incomplete in a way, but it still was one of the best movies of the year. And then when it finally came out on Sony 4K Blu-ray, Sony does some of the best studio transfers out there. They did an incredible job on this. They also gave us an amazing Dolby Atmos track with such a great score and such great licensed music. You knew it was going to sound great coming through your speakers, and man, and again, this is one of the top 5 audio tracks of the year. And on top of that, as far as being a studio release, they gave us so many different extras. They gave it a great pack in Blu-ray. Even if you were just to get the Blu-ray itself is still a damn good Blu-ray. And for new releases, they usually really skip out on stuff like that. They don't really pack it in with all the bells and whistles. This also had a 4K steelbook, but this really was a great release from Sony. I expect Sony to give us great 4K releases, and this was one of them. The expectations were high for it, and they still exceeded them for me. This is one of the best studio releases of 2023.
I can't go back. I mean, I just couldn't live.
I know.
And at number 2, and it came out really early in the year, and I really expected it to stay at number 1 for the entire year, but only one film knocked it off its throne, and that was Thelma and Louise from the Criterion Collection. This 4K was so good that it made me rethink my love for the film Thelma and Louise. The actual visual upgrade changed my opinion on this. This was not my top 3 Ridley Scott films coming into the year. I always thought Thelma and Louise was a really good movie, but I wouldn't ever let it even into my top 5 probably. But now, it's jockeying for my number 2, which is absolutely insane. But this movie is just so fantastic, and the visual upgrade just really helps it to stand out in a crowd. I mean, it just blew me away visually. And then on top of that, we get a great audio track. You know, it's not the best audio track of the year, but, you know, going along with the great visuals, I was very happy with it. Also, they gave us, again, it's Criterion Collection, so you expect great extras. Plenty of great extras, and then they broke out the good digibook packaging, you know, individual disc design, paperwork, everything you could have wanted. They gave us the works with this one. This is easily Criterion's release of the year. Criterion actually didn't have the greatest of years in comparison to 2022, but they did have a great year, and this release was just fantastic. If you haven't watched Thelma and Louise in years, you owe it to yourself to get this 4K Blu-ray because you're going to absolutely love it. You're going to love the new visuals on this one. It really just, oh my god, I cannot tell you. I watched this 3 weekends in a row. That's how much I fell in love with the film again, and that's all contributed to the 4K Blu-ray. A 4K Blu-ray made me rethink my love for a film and just increased it. That's how good this release was. I mean, thank you, Criterion, for that one. And at number 1, it's probably no surprise, but not only is it the best film of the year, but it's also the best 4K Blu-ray of the year, and that is Oppenheimer from Universal. Not only does Christopher Nolan love physical media, and he's always out there, you know, defending our honor. He's pretty much the king. Him and Guillermo del Toro, I'd say, and maybe James Cameron, but James Cameron loves DNR too much to be, you know, up there on the throne with Christopher Nolan and Guillermo del Toro, but still, Oppenheimer, I absolutely love this movie. I think when we look back on 2023, we're going to look back on Oppenheimer as being the standout film. You know, at the time of this recording, the Academy Awards haven't happened, but it's possible that we get a sweep of all the major awards with director, actor, picture, maybe best actress. That's the one flaw of the film, I think. You know, as much as I love Emily Blunt, I don't think her performance is that standoutish, but still, what a great, great movie. And then the 4K Blu-ray, my god, it might have actually looked better than it did in theaters. I didn't get to see this in the 70mm IMAX format, but I did see it in IMAX, and I think this 4K looked better than that. The only thing is we get a DTS HD 5.1 track, because for some reason Nolan doesn't like Atmos tracks. And you know what? Fine. It's an amazing DTS HD 5.1 track, like absolutely incredible. And I've complained about Christopher Nolan and his audio design in the past, how he likes to have the background score just overwhelm the dialogue to the point where you can't even hear people. Like, that was a big issue in Tenet, where you actually had to watch it with captions on. He fixed all that with this one. Everything comes in crisp and clear. Of course, the big scenes in this movie, it get your heart pounding, the bass is pumping, and you just feel it in your chest. The Trinity test is just one of the best scenes of the year. It might actually be the best scene of the year, and it's only 2/3 into the movie, and they still end this movie fantastically. You know, they're bouncing between aspect ratios. He shot this on IMAX, so you knew it was going to look great that way. You have black and white sequences, you have colored sequences, blending them together. It's fantastically edited. It better win best editing, because my god, a movie this long should not be paced this well. I could say so much about the film. I could say so much about the 4K. We got a making of documentary on a new 2023 release. That's just unheard of. We don't get that much anymore. You know, Titanic is a looking back documentary, and that's fantastic. Having a new film come out with all of these fantastic extras on here, you know, they didn't have to do that. I'm so glad they did. A pack in Blu-ray. You really got the works here. There was also a steelbook, so easily Oppenheimer wins Best 4K Blu-ray of 2023. This is one of the most important films ever released, and I'm really glad we got an amazing 4K Blu-ray. I can't imagine a collector's edition being better than what we already have. And that's just a testament to Christopher Nolan. I'm sure if the studio wanted to put it out on its own, and this is just speculation, you know, it maybe wouldn't have as much of the bells and whistles as it does. But really, this is one that every collector has to have, and it's number 1 for 2023. And before we end the video, I just want to do a couple honorable mentions. Earlier in the year, we got Shout's release of Wrath of Man on 4K Blu-ray. It was a bare bones release, but this movie looked amazing. Some of the best visuals of the year, great audio design, and it's a Guy Ritchie film that kind of just flew under the radar. Evil Dead Rise. The actual 4K is great. It's a great visual experience. It's an amazing audio experience. It's the best audio track of 2023. I just wish overall this was a better release. You know, how they released this on 4K Blu-ray and how they released their steelbooks, trying to double up on people. I didn't really appreciate that, and also doesn't give us the best of extras. So it's a pretty standard studio release, just has one of the best audio tracks that I've ever heard, in my opinion. And then the top Warner Brothers 100 release this year, you know, when they were going back and upgrading their classic films, and also has a fantastic steelbook, Cool Hand Luke. This 4K upgrade was incredible. It really just added something to the film. I heard some people, they didn't like the color temperature changes on this. It really didn't bother me too much. I thought all the changes that they made to the visuals on this movie were the right right choices. You know, Warner Brothers doesn't use Dolby Vision, they just use HDR10, and I've said it here before, I think that whatever they're doing in studio is perfect, so don't touch that, don't change that, and this is one I think every collector should have. And then the last honorable mention that just missed the list at number 11 was The Mist on 4K Blu-ray. I have the Steelbook here with the amazing, you know, slipcover design that I absolutely love that they do. And what they did here that I really appreciated is they gave us 4Ks for not only the black and white, but also for the color. So you were able to compare them and see which one you liked more. When I was doing the review of this, I actually stopped halfway through the movie and then I put the black and white in, and then I did the reverse of that the next weekend because I wanted to watch the first half in black and white and then watch the second half in color. I mean, this movie is fantastic. It's one of Frank Darabont's best films. And I don't know if he's actually even made a film since this, which is absolutely insane because this movie it's incredible. It's also got one of the most tragic endings. That's what most people remember. But the film itself throughout is just amazing. It's an amazing, amazing movie. Has one of the most tragic endings you'll ever see. And the 4K is great. It just missed it just because I didn't feel like it was the best 4K of the year. But it's my number 11. So it's right there. It's definitely one I can recommend. And it's got a great steelbook as well. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me on another episode of Let's Talk. Remember, I want to hear what your top 10 4K Blu-ray releases of the year are in the comment section below. And I also want to thank my channel producers, Nocturnal, John Doe Juggalo, and Jason Martin. I also want to thank my channel directors, Frank Rodriguez and Kevin Kruger. Thank you guys all for your support. I also want to thank my friends of the channel, James Kell. Really appreciate your support as well. You can join any of those tiers down in the description below. Pick a tier that's best for you. But if you got no money to toss our way, don't you guys worry about it at all. The best way to support this channel is just by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning notifications on, then just getting out in those streets and telling your friends about us. And then after you're done doing all of that, we'll be seeing you around.